There's a particular kind of man who, when someone asks him why he bought the G80 M3, has the answer ready before the question is finished. He didn't buy it because it's fast. He bought it because he researched it for 14 months, cross-referenced lap times at the Nürburgring, read every comparison test published between 2021 and 2023, and arrived at what he will describe with complete sincerity as a logical conclusion. The fact that the conclusion involves a 510 horsepower sports sedan that turns his daily commute into a private track day is, in his view, entirely beside the point. That tells you almost everything you need to know. The BMW M3 is not a new idea. It has existed in one form or another since 1986, when BMW took its 3 Series sedan, handed it to their motorsport division, and produced something that became almost immediately foundational to the idea of what a performance car could be. Not a sports car, not a supercar. Something more interesting than either, a car that could pick up groceries on a Tuesday and destroy a racetrack on a Saturday, and do both without apologizing for the other. That original E30 was followed by the E36, then the E46, which many still consider the high point of the entire lineage, then the E90, the F80, and now the G80. 6 generations across nearly 4 decades. Each one faster, more sophisticated, and more controversial than the last. The G80 is the most controversial of all. And the people who bought it anyway are a psychologically fascinating group. Let's start with what most people remember about the G80's introduction, because you cannot talk about this car's buyer without talking about the grille. When BMW revealed the G80 M3 in 2020, the automotive internet did something it rarely does with genuine unanimity. It recoiled. The kidney grills, BMW's signature design element since the 1930s, had grown significantly, enormously, some said. The front end looked, depending on who you asked, like a wall, a beaver, a Gothic cathedral, or something a product designer had generated as a stress test for public tolerance. Forum threads ran into the thousands. Automotive journalists who had spent careers maintaining professional composure used words they typically reserved for natural disasters. And then, quietly and in very large numbers, people bought it anyway. Understanding why requires understanding the specific psychological architecture of the M3 buyer, because this was not passive acceptance. These were not people who shrugged and settled. The men who bought the G80 M3 are, almost without exception, the kind of people who do not make passive decisions about anything. What happened instead was something more interesting. They decided the critics were wrong. They looked at the grille, sat with it, researched the engineering rationale, better cooling, track performance, intake airflow, and concluded that form follows function and function is the point. Whether that reasoning preceded or followed the desire to buy the car is a question worth leaving open. But the conviction was real. This is a pattern that researchers in consumer psychology call motivated reasoning, and it is not, before anyone gets defensive, a flaw. It is something humans do constantly, and the M3 buyer does it with unusual self-awareness and unusual competence. The difference between the average motivated reasoner and the M3 owner is that the M3 owner has genuinely done the research. He just also really wanted the car. The psychological framework that best explains what's happening here is something called identity-based purchasing. The premise is straightforward. People don't buy products. They buy versions of themselves. Every significant purchase is simultaneously a statement about who you are, who you want to be seen as, and more privately, and more honestly, who you need to reassure yourself that you still are. The M3 carries a very specific identity signal. It says, in the particular language of people who know what it means, I understand performance at a technical level, I am not buying a badge, I am not buying theater, I have made an informed decision about an objectively extraordinary machine, and I am the kind of person who makes informed decisions about objectively extraordinary machines. That last clause is doing most of the psychological work. Consider who this buyer typically is. He is somewhere between his mid-30s and his mid-50s. He has a career that rewards competence, engineering, finance, medicine, technology, law. He has strong opinions about things that reward having strong opinions. Espresso preparation, audio equipment, running shoes, whether the manual transmission in a performance car is a principled choice or a romantic anachronism. He has probably owned BMWs before. He almost certainly has a spreadsheet somewhere comparing the M3 to the AMG C63 and the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, and the spreadsheet has 17 columns. He is not buying this car because he saw it in a film. He is buying it because he earned the right to buy it. And earning the right to buy something is, for this particular psychological profile, a significant part of what makes buying it satisfying. The psychologist Abraham Maslow described human motivation as a hierarchy of needs, with the most basic survival needs at the base, and what he called self-actualization at the peak. Self-actualization is the drive to become the fullest, most capable version of yourself. To not just succeed, but to be genuinely, demonstrably excellent at the things that matter to you. For the M3 buyer, the car is not a reward for self-actualization, it is an instrument of it. The car is something to be mastered, understood, improved upon, and used with the kind of deliberate skill that transforms a machine into an extension of the person operating it. This matters because it separates the M3 buyer from the person who buys something expensive as a finish line. For this man, the car is not the destination, it is the method. The purchase is the beginning of a relationship with a machine he intends to understand completely, and that intention is itself a source of genuine satisfaction independent of whether it is ever fully realized. This is why driver engagement matters to this community in ways that go beyond performance statistics. It is not the 0 to 60 time that matters, though. 3.5 seconds in the MX Drive version is, practically speaking, a number that has no business existing on a car with rear seats and a trunk. What matters is the quality of the communication between the car and the driver. The steering, the chassis feedback. The way the rear steps out under power and can be caught, managed, and used by someone who knows what they're doing. The M3 is a car that respects the driver enough to tell the truth. For men who spend significant portions of their professional lives managing information that has been filtered, softened, and politically processed by the time it reaches them, that directness is not a minor thing. There is, as with all great status objects, a social dimension that most owners would rather not examine too directly. The M3 exists in a precise and somewhat treacherous position in the automotive hierarchy. It is expensive enough to signal genuine achievement. The G80 starts at just under $75,000 before options, and essentially nobody buys it before options, but not so expensive as to remove itself from the realm of the peer group. A Ferrari says one thing. An M3 says something more nuanced and, for the specific audience it's aimed at, more interesting. It says, I could have bought something more theatrical, and I chose not to. I know the difference between performance and performance theater, and I chose performance. That distinction matters enormously to the buyer, and approximately 0% to the person in the adjacent lane. The BMW M3 community carries its own distinct social infrastructure. The track day culture, the owners' forums with their elaborate hierarchies of knowledge and experience, the very specific ritual of the Nürburgring lap for a subset of M3 owners, actually driving the car on the circuit it was partly developed on, is not optional. It is the completion of a promise. These are not people attending car shows to park and display. They are people who consider a Sunday morning at a closed circuit to be a reasonable use of a Sunday morning, and within that community there is a clear and largely unspoken hierarchy. At the top are the people who actually drive the car to its limits regularly, who can discuss suspension geometry and tire compound trade-offs from experience rather than theory. Below them, in gradually descending order of credibility, are the people who track it occasionally, the people who plan to track it, and the people who bought the competition package and have not yet Googled where their nearest track day event is. Every tier believes it belongs one tier higher. This is not unique to M3 ownership. It is, however, unusually concentrated there. Here is the quiet contradiction sitting at the center of all of this, and it deserves to be said plainly. The G80 M3, for all its driver engagement, for all its lap time credibility, for all the carefully cultivated image of the serious driver's serious machine, is also a four-door sedan with a heated steering wheel, a large infotainment screen, a perfectly comfortable back seat, and a sound system that costs more than a used hatchback. It is an extraordinarily livable car. Its most hardcore owners, the ones who drove a standard E36 in 1997 and have strong opinions about hydraulic versus electric power steering, will tell you this has become a problem. That the car has gotten too heavy, too digital, too comfortable. That BMW has softened the formula in the direction of the market rather than the track. They are not entirely wrong. They are also still buying it. Because the deeper truth about the M3 buyer, the one that makes him genuinely sympathetic and genuinely recognizable, is that he is not buying a racing car. He is buying a version of his life in which his daily reality, the commute, the school run, the parking structure, has been elevated to something with a little more voltage. A life in which competence behind a wheel is not an irrelevant skill, but a practiced one. A life in which the object he drives to work happens to be something that, at the right moment, on the right road, on a Saturday morning, becomes something close to extraordinary. The M3 has been promising that elevation for nearly 4 decades. The G80 grille and all keeps the promise. And the men who bought it knew it would before they signed anything. They'd checked.